Staring at herself in the mirror on the restroom door. Voices in her head that mirror what she's heard before.
Hey beautiful people, it's your girl Shakima. I'm just stopping in for I say quick, but we know how this goes, a quick astrology forecast for Virgo season. Now, I know I've been out of the mix and groove of things for a minute, but I've actually been in the process of relocating, so just been settling into everything and getting prepped for you guys. Actually, I was really quite intrigued to see what takes place for Virgo season. I'm a Virgo rising, so this is a little bit of personal interest kind of like mixed in there, so I'm definitely intrigued to see kind of what shows up for us during this Virgo season. And I figured, you know, it's kind of like taking us into the end of summer season, moving over into the autumn equinox, so it's definitely going to be quite the trip for us, guys. So definitely be sure to stay tuned for all of the amazing insights. Before we get into the video, guys, if you like my vibe and you want to be a part of the tribe, do subscribe and be sure to hit the notification bell. That way you can be kept in the know of when I do upload these awesome videos for you guys. And be sure to comment below and let me know how you've been able to effectively utilize the information that I'm going to provide to you guys. And be sure to share if you care for somebody else to, you know, be able to benefit from the information that I'm going to be able to provide to you guys as well. Okay, all of that awesomeness out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty of this Virgo season, my loves. Stay tuned. Right, guys, so we've got some music to kind of set the ambiance because it's quite echoey in here, and I want for you guys to be able to kind of hear what I've got to say. So hopefully you guys can still hear me pretty well, and the music kind of drowns out a little bit of the echoing. I hope you guys have been having an awesome transit for this 2021 experience, BTW. It's been quite transformational. So going into Virgo season, we've definitely got a lot on the cards for us. So just before Virgo season, which started on the 22nd of August, on the 19th of August, we actually had Uranus going retrograde in Pisces, around about 48 degrees of Pisces to be precise. So for me, that was really just speaking testament to what we're going to be sort of doing, I guess, during Virgo season. Virgo season was really, well, is really here to give us an opportunity to look at the finer details of things, like really go deeper into breaking things down as much as possible. So for a lot of us, you know, there are certain things, I guess, that we've been trying to manifest, or certain things that we've been working on materializing, and I feel like this Virgo season is going to help us to have more of an understanding of how to be able to break down the different stages. So some of you may be overwhelmed by the concept of all the work that needs to be done, or all of the actions that needs to be put in cultivating and manifesting some of your intentions. And I feel like with Uranus going retrograde, Uranus is pretty much sort of saying, do you know what, in Virgo season, I really want to utilize this opportunity to go a little bit deeper, have a little bit more of an understanding of how I'm going to get from point A to point B, and get the plan into really more of an aligned structure. Like, it's really kind of re-looking at things in more of a meticulous sense. It's kind of going deeper into understanding maybe what are some of the obstacles that may kind of show up as a result of maybe overthinking things. So we're definitely going to be having a look at the way that we're mentally I guess engaging with our reality around us. That's definitely a theme for Virgo season. I feel like it's all about mental rejuvenation. That's probably the best way that I can put it. It's going to be a bit of a tricky transit from what I can see. So now, going directly into Virgo season, on the 22nd of August, the sun went into Virgo, and the moon actually went into, well, the moon sort of blossomed into its full state in Aquarius. So we had the full moon in Aquarius on the 22nd of August, on the day that we're also sort of having Virgo going, well, the sun, sorry, going into Virgo. So to me, that's kind of speaking volumes again about how we're going to really look at the way that we're actually showing up. So we're going to be getting a little bit of a, how can I put it? This is like revision season for us, essentially, right? Virgo season is more revision season for us. So we're going to be revising, and there's definitely going to be like mock exams thrown in there as well. And what I mean by that, I mean just like the general things that you've been working on in life, you'll be tested. You'll be able to kind of see how far you've come and what areas of yourself you still kind of need to work at and still refine and still keep building to be able to strengthen your character, to be able to quantum leap onto the timeline of becoming the vibration of the person that you're trying to manifest, I guess, your next reality as. Definitely what I'm seeing with this kind of setup, it's happening on the 22nd. The numerology there alone is all about self-mastery. So we're learning how to work with a mind over matter concept, right? Our mind is definitely getting an opportunity to be more in awareness. I'm not going to say in control because that would be a falsity completely. I feel like the mind is getting more of an awareness of some of the parts of your manifesting. How can I put it? I'm trying to find the words, guys. Some of the things that you're trying to manifest, you'll find that there are things that you're doing that is out of alignment with that. You might be speaking negatively over the things that you're trying to manifest, and you'll find out a little bit more about, you know, some of the, I guess, deprogramming that needs to take place in that aspect. You'll find how it actually feeds your mental shadows, and you'll be learning a little bit more about the appropriation of the right language to be able to help you quantum leap again onto the timeline that you're trying to manifest into. And you'll also be kind of having more of an understanding as well of when less is more. That's the best way that I can put it. You're going to be like, some of us, you know, we're kind of like used to the dynamic of drama, but we're trying to grow out the environment of chaos. Essentially, chaos breeds space for drama to kind of exist. So we'll be learning a little bit more about how we can be a little bit melodramatic at times, where we need to kind of dial back during this Virgo season, and where we need to be conserving our energy a little bit and figuring out how to give more of the things that we want. Because a lot of the times, you know, we're asking for things from people that we're not necessarily putting out there ourselves, and the universe is pretty much asking us, are we in a position to kind of request those dividends from the karma bank, because we haven't necessarily put that energy in there. And we can't necessarily go to the bank requesting dividends that we haven't necessarily invested into. So it's definitely going to be an interesting journey of us understanding a little bit more about how we're actually showing up in society. So not just the way that we see ourselves, not just the way that we feel about ourselves, but also sometimes how we have the tendency to make other people feel, even if it's not by intent. That's even the bigger lesson, because you need to learn a little bit more about how to get into alignment with your intentions in order to be able to manifest and cultivate, you know, and nurture some of the timelines that you're trying to manifest or quantum jump into. So it's definitely going to be quite an interesting sort of journey from the 22nd of August right the way up until the end of Virgo season on the 22nd of September. So right, let's go and get into it a little bit deeper here, guys. So on the 30th, 8 days into Virgo season, we've got Mercury entering Libra. So again, definitely going through a mental reconstruction. Rejuvenation, yes, but it's definitely a reconstruction. Our mind as a collective is kind of figuring out how to gain a little bit more of a balanced perspective, because sometimes, right, you're adamant that that's not how you're showing up in your experiences because of the fact that your intentions is clouding the lenses by which you're able to really receive yourself. You know, reflecting back at you through the constructive analysis. Let's not, you know, use the word criticism, because that can be a little bit painful for some people to receive. So constructive analysis from others can feel a little bit more like an attack, and we can tend to be a little bit in defense mode. Whereas I feel like this Virgo season, because we're willing to work on the mental reconstruction, or we're being encouraged, I should say, by the stars to work on the mental reconstruction, so that the mental body can get a little bit more into alignment with the emotional intent. It seems as though, like, during Mercury sort of being in Libra, because on that day, that's also the 30th of August is also the last quarter moon. Mercury entering Libra on the 30th. We also have the last quarter moon taking place on the 30th of August as well. So we're literally at the end of the August season and moving over into September. The last quarter moon is actually in Gemini. It's in 9 degrees Gemini. So for myself, what I'm sort of getting from that is that we're learning a little bit more, I guess, going deeper into working through the shadows, finding the balance between the shadows, learning how to cultivate appropriate boundaries for ourselves as well to be able to navigate through some of these shadows. And also articulating some of those boundaries with other people, you know, identifying where we are on our journey, working through some of these shadows and letting other people know, okay, this may be a sensitive area. So it requires a lot of vulnerability to be able to articulate kind of where you are on the journey. And it's not necessarily about making other people responsible for, you know, the work that you are or aren't doing with your shadow during this season, but it's more a case of taking responsibility for the work that you're doing and communicating to those that you have, you know, relationships that you desire to continue to nurture and relationships that you want to continue to strengthen and cultivate a functional dynamic, essentially. Those relationships, you're going to be asked to, I guess, communicate and articulate exactly what you need for those relationships to work and be open to receiving guidance on what is actually needed and required of you as well to continue to strengthen the relationship, to continue to lead and know when to lead. It's kind of a dance. That's how I'm seeing it. That there's this dance that's taking place in these relationships, and you need to know when to bend, i.e. surrender, be willing to be vulnerable, and you need to know when to lead, i.e. knowing when to kind of stand in place when somebody else may be falling short on wherever they are on their own, I guess, personal experience of themselves as far as their journey. So the first week is really giving us an opportunity to get a little bit more mental balance and clarity, just to be able to kind of like realign our thoughts a little bit. Okay, so I'd say that's the first 2 weeks essentially, because on the 6th of September we've got the new moon in Virgo. So this is now where we get, guys. Okay, so let me sit with this because I'm getting a few downloads on this at the minute. So with the new moon taking place in Virgo, that's actually taking place in 38 degrees of Virgo. So what I'm getting with that is that this is definitely all about new karmic beginnings. This is all about some of the, I guess you'll start to see a little bit of dividends of the work that you have been doing in the first couple of weeks of Virgo season. Definitely longer than that. I want to say the work that you've probably been doing, I want to say maybe since a year ago, but also maybe as soon as like the last 6 months. Some of the things that you've been working on in the last 6 months, you'll start to see things coming a little bit more into season. So, you know, when you plant the tree, you have to water, well, you plant the seed, then you have to water it, and it grows. But now you'll start to see a little bit of the fruits of your labor. I want to say the Virgo new moon is very, very, I'm not going to say important, but utilize it as best as you can as far as how you would like to see some of these intentions that you've been working on for the last 6 months, how you'd like to see some of those intentions sort of come into light, come into manifestation, because the universe is asking you, okay, what is it that you are requesting? Like, now you're getting an opportunity essentially to put in your petition. Okay, you get to ask the universe, it's like making a withdrawal request from your karma bank. You get to ask the universe, okay, I've done this much work. This is what I feel like I'm owed in terms of that. Now you have to be, this is very important, guys. It's all about the mental reconstruction that you're doing in the first couple of weeks of Virgo season. So from the 22nd of August right the way through to the 6th of September, it's about how you're actually engaging with your reality. You're going to start to see some sort of changes kind of really taking place around about that window during the Virgo new moon, because this is where you're getting an opportunity to set your intentions for these new beginnings. So you'll start to see it. You'll start to see it. You'll start to be able to experience it, and it's up to you what you do to continue to cultivate it, which is very important, because on the 10th of September we've got Venus, which enters Scorpio. Now, Madame Venus, my, guys. Venus going into Scorpio is all about creative transformation. It's all about romantic transformation taking place, which directly impacts the home. And I'm seeing a little bit of a theme kind of taking place here, guys. So looking at this, what I'm seeing after we have Venus going into Scorpio on the 10th of September, on the 13th of September, we've got the first quarter moon in Sagittarius. So now we're getting the new philosophies are now starting to be reflected externally. People are now starting to treat us in the way that we're actually showing up, depending on whether or not we've made these mental reconstructions and realignments, so that we can see ourselves through the lenses that others may see us as well, so that we can get more of an understanding of how to align into more of an authentic representation of ourselves as well. Because it's not just, again, the way that we see ourselves that we're actually, other people are dancing with the way that they're actually experiencing us. Yes, through the filters that their experience has pretty much, nurtured them to be able to kind of see us through those lenses, but also it's about how we're actually showing up either energetically, either verbally. It might be unspoken body language, it might be attitude, for instance, tonality of the language that may be sort of disturbing or distorting what we're trying to say or how we're trying to engage with a person. So some of these things needs to be fine-tuned. And between the 10th of September right the way through to the 20th. So let's speak about this, guys, because a lot's taking place during those 10 days. So 10th of September, we've got Venus entering Scorpio, which is definitely going to give us a little bit of a switch up in terms of romance, and Mars has some part to play in that as well. But on the 13th, we've got the first quarter moon in Sagittarius at 16 degrees. So there's definitely a spiritual victory sort of taking place at that point. We're going through a lot of, I want to say spiritual combat with ourselves. It's with ourselves. So for a lot of us, because we're going through philosophical upgrades, we may be navigating through feelings of procrastination, lack of motivation. We may be dealing with low self-esteem due to lack of confidence in these new areas, or not being all the way comfortable just yet with being able to put into practice a lot of these new philosophies that we are grounding into as we're grounding into these timelines, because these philosophical upgrades are required mentally for these timelines to be able to flourish, essentially, or for us to be able to really ground into these timelines so we can flourish and blossom into as much of what we can grow into as far as what we're willing to do to meet our potential on those timelines. I hope that this is all making sense to you guys, but there's a lot that's taking place, guys. So on the 13th, we've got the first quarter moon taking place in Sagittarius to help with those philosophical sort of ascensions that's taking place. For some of us, it may even be a descent for a period of time. I'm not going to lie to you, because we do also have Mars going into Libra. So again, we're learning how to balance as we're navigating through these transitions romantically as well. So it's definitely going to affect and impact our home dynamics, because whether we're in a romantic partnership or not, what I would say, so for people who are single navigating through the Venus in Scorpio and Mars in Libra kind of transit, right? What you would tend to find with that is you're kind of going through this process of learning how to basically be in balance. Sometimes being single, you get, I wouldn't say comfortable, you get content. Because I don't think that it's all the way comfortable. There are so many things that one may be uncomfortable with. Sometimes in single life, there may be moments of yearning for companionship, someone to continue to grow with as you grow into more of yourself and more of an understanding of self. So in these types of dynamics, what I tend to find that it's about learning how to also be open as well. It's about learning how to be less rigid and a little bit more willing to learn how to flow with what is required of you, not just necessarily about what you're looking for, because you're learning at the minute, even in Singleville, as you're in that class, you're actually learning about what it is that you're wanting in a partner by learning what it is that you actually reflect and what kind of partner would be most compatible and most complementary to the mirror reflection of what you're actually putting out there into the universe. So there's a lot for you to learn with this type of dynamic. It's about learning how to share. It's about learning how to be vulnerable. It's about learning how to be willing to kind of push through some of the disappointments, because a lot of the times in partnerships you can expect to have disappointments show up to kind of test your ability to how can I put this? Sometimes disappointments in partnerships shows up to test your ability to be more of a team player. So being in Singleville, a lot of the times you get comfortable with being the only man on the team, and it gets a little bit tricky learning how to incorporate basically being a team player. So those are some of the lessons that you may be learning during this Virgo season, during those 10 days windows. My, it's going to be an interesting journey for you guys. For those of you who are in, I guess, partnerships, complicated situationships, this is really going to give you an opportunity to learn how to basically create a new narrative on the story of your romantic partnership. Really learning how to basically understand where the old stories no longer serves your partnerships, and where you need to be looking to a new ideology of how you're going to commit to your relationship, how you're going to put your best efforts forward for your relationship, how you're going to even react or respond when you're not in your best places within yourself, within your relationship, and how, you know, the old philosophies on the ways that you used to show up in those relationships are going through an upgrade, how your ascension process is now going to basically reflect the philosophical upgrades that you've actually sort of navigated through in terms of romance as well. Learning how to balance and ground as you navigate through this transformation, as you navigate through this transition. What I'm seeing with this is essentially it's all about you learning how to be supportive, as well as knowing when you need supporting yourself. So if you're constantly the giver in the relationship, knowing when to fall back and say, do you know what, I need this, you know, or I'm lacking this, or I'm low on this, and this is where I feel like you can pick up some of the slack, you know, or even being vulnerable enough to say, I've fallen short in this area, and I don't know how to really be able to kind of strengthen this area of our foundations at the minute. Is there any suggestions that you might have? Because it makes it easier, you know, for us to actually receive constructive analysis if we're actually asking for it. So our guards are down, we're less defensive, we're more open, which means that we're more receptive. So during the period of the 10th to the 20th, we're definitely going to be learning a little bit more about how to ground. Like, we're going to be finding the balance during the transition that's taking place for us mentally with these philosophical upgrades that's kind of taking place. Now, on the 14th, I mentioned that Mars enters Libra as well. So Mars is actually, you know, learning, the god of war, essentially, is learning how to be in balance, be in flow. Knowing when it's time to speak up and knowing when it's time to listen. And sometimes speaking happens, you know, sometimes you get really passionate when the heart is connected to what it is that we're saying. But the heart also needs to be just as passionate towards listening as well, so that it can be receptive to hearing what somebody else has to say, so that, you know, as you're kind of navigating through these classes, it's about learning what kind of listener you are in certain situations. Are you an interrogative listener? Are you, you know, where you're constantly listening to just ask questions? Are you basically the type of listener whereby you're actually like tuning out, or you're checking out of the actual space, so you're not actually invested in the space at all because you're a little bit maybe, I'm not going to say self-absorbed because it might feel that way, it might reflect in that way, but you've got so much going on within your own internal universe that you can't best show up with the room and space to be able to receive what's going on in somebody else's universe. So those are some of the things that I guess we're really going to be diving deep into with the Mars being in Libra aspect, as far as how that's going to affect and impact us in terms of our romantic partnerships. Overall, I feel like in terms of how that's going to show up as well, in terms of colleague relationships, we're really going to be learning a little bit more about where we need to fall back. Sometimes we might be overstepping our boundaries as well. So we're definitely going to be learning a little bit more about that during that period. And also with Vesta's actually going into Scorpio as well on the 20th of September, which is also when we've got the full moon in Pisces. And again, guys, like I've literally been having a charge up for like the last 3 months, and moving into September, I've got another charge up because it's like bam, 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 Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. I'm a Capricorn moon, Aquarius, Pisces cusp as far as my sun sign. So I've literally had like quite the transit. And for you guys as well, you might find, depending on where these moons are, like we're having we're having a last quarter moon in Gemini, so we're closing out old chapters of certain shadows. We might be finding, like for my Gemini babies, sun, moon and rising, you might be finding that those chapters that you're closing out are more significant maybe than some of the others around you. And when I say significant, I mean it's probably like a longer span of time as far as like a chapter. So you may be closing out chapters from like 3 to 5 to 7 to 10 years ago, and wrapping those cycles up. With the new moon in Virgo, like this is Virgo season. So you guys, like Virgo sun, moon and rising, we're actually getting a charge up during this season regardless, because this season is basically our time of ascension, essentially. For myself being a Virgo rising, my external self, so the way that I show up in the universe, that's gone through an entire overhaul. I've gone through an annular experience already, so I've gone through a solar experience. And equally for you guys, a lot of you guys, for Virgo season, Virgo suns, you're going to be showing up differently as far as the way in which you kind of represent yourself. That's going to be showing up differently. You might be adding on different roles. You might have gone through motherhood in the last year. We had a lot of, I guess, lockdown babies. You might have birthed a new project. You might be in the process of birthing a new you if you are a Virgo moon. There's a lot that's actually sort of taking place at this point. You might be sort of birthing a new relationship in terms of how you relate to yourself and what parts of yourself you feel most connected to at this point of the journey. There's so much that's actually sort of taking place with this kind of experience that we've been sort of going through. And with the first quarter moon in Sagittarius, that's definitely going to be a big charge up for the Sagittarius sun, moon and rising, because then they're getting an opportunity to kind of have this newness take over their existence, so it's going to be quite the interesting sort of transit, guys. I hope you guys are keeping up with me here, because I'm just like going back and forth and throwing different dates out there. But when Vestas enters Scorpio, the full moon in Pisces and 14 degrees of Pisces, in fact, it's definitely talking about subconscious changes. It's talking about changes taking place in the ethereal realms, giving us an opportunity to continue to dream, giving us an opportunity as well to see some of the dreams that we've been, I guess, cultivating, some of the dreams that we've been pouring into, some of the dreams that we've been deeply resonating with on a heart level or a heart vibrational frequency, some of the things that we've really been connecting with deeply at a soul level. Some of those things are really going to be coming into manifestation. Some of those things are really going to be showing us how much, I guess, changes have taken place during the period of that time. So roughly by, I guess, the 3rd week of September, when the sun enters Libra on the 22nd of September after Vestas going into Scorpio with a full moon in Pisces on the 20th, I feel like we'll be coming down feeling as though, wow, dreams really do come true. And it's not necessarily that we're all the way into the process of seeing that dream like really be in full-blown existence, but we can see that we're moving into that direction. We can see that that dream is becoming less of a dream and more of a reality for us. And I truly feel like this Virgo season It's going to really be wrapping up the finer details of parts of our existence that we thought didn't matter towards what we're manifesting, and we're learning during this Virgo season that they're actually very, very important. They're actually important to the intrinsic detailing of how the manifesting is taking place, jumping from the timeline of where you are presently to the timeline of where you see yourself a year from now, where you saw yourself last year in comparison to where you are now, where you saw yourself 6 months ago in comparison to where you are now. So there's a lot of beautiful, beautiful sort of changes taking place. It's definitely a season of transformation. Romantically, it's definitely a season of balancing within our partnerships, within our business partnerships as well. We're definitely going to be going through some ascensions during the process of that. Our colleague relationships as well will definitely, be going through a friendship reevaluation as well, kind of identifying what boundaries are necessary during navigating through these colleague dynamics, as far as feeling like, are you my friend? And if so, what type of friend are you? Are you the kind of friend that I can call when this is happening? Or are you the kind of friend where we kind of have a little bit more of a surface relationship? And that's why too, those relationships, they serve a purpose. They are required in their own ways for certain things. And they have their own use as far as external outlet. So it's just about re-identifying things and replacing things appropriately as we go through this reconstruction. So Virgo season is really going to help us to archive the appropriate labeling as far as our relationships, romantically, as far as business partnerships, definitely seeing some transitions there, and our friendships overall. And let's be clear, we can have friends with any and everyone. Your child can be your friend, your parent can be your friend can be your best friend, you can have close friends, you can have associate friends, whereby it's just a sociable sort of experience. There's no real depth, we don't know the layers of each other, we know the surface of each other, and that's good enough to maintain the relationship. And we don't want to, test the relationship by putting it in the hot seat of a climate or environment that is too deep for it to be able to withstand any kind of pressure going through it, So it's going to be an interesting class for us all, guys. I am hoping that you guys are really able to make the most of these different transits that we've got. Coming into Virgo season, we had the Aquarius full moon taking place on the very same day, giving us an opportunity to get a little bit more mentally aware of how we're actually showing up in society. So it's going to actually really reflect by the end of Virgo season a new version of us that we're actually showing to society, based on the philosophical upgrades that we actually have during this season. So it's definitely going to be an interesting time. Dream as big as you can, guys. Be willing to put in as much work as required, and be willing to invest in the right thoughts vibrationally. So higher vibrational thoughts. And even when you're having lower vibrational emotions, the density of the emotions being too much for you to elevate your thoughts and elevate your conscious awareness of the experience, sit in it. You don't have to call it home, but consider it your Airbnb for a day or two, however long it takes you to kind of be able to move through the density of those emotions, so that you can transcend into a higher vibration thought-wise, because the emotions can kind of drag our thoughts down into the lower planes of existence. And sometimes it might take some time navigating through the emotions first before the thoughts can come. So try not to be too hard on yourself. Be open to the process. Be open to learning different parts of yourself, because the last quarter moon in Gemini is saying goodbye to an old chapter. And we have to be willing to learn who the new version of ourselves is, so that we can show up more in alignment as that person in our thoughts, actions, behaviors, attitude towards our experiences, responses, reactionary actions, all of the above. Thought patterns, even as I said that, I can feel like thoughts, downloads coming, flying off. I can feel the electricity in my crown chakra. So thoughts are definitely going to be going through a process of ascending, but first we have to understand just how low. It's like maths. We have to understand what we're working with as far as the density, because the density it represents a certain frequency. So we need to know where we are in order to move through the different layers to get to where we're trying to get to. Okay, so let yourself be who you are, whatever personality shows up when, and just keep a mental note, because it's going to give you an opportunity to understand more about who the dreamer is behind some of the dreams that you have, and why those dreams are such a big desire on your heart as well. Okay, that being said, my loves, that is pretty much everything from myself. I'm actually going to give you guys a quick little reading as well, so definitely be sure, more or less, to stay tuned for all of that awesomeness, and let yourselves be open to whatever you can get from that experience as well. I'm being guided to basically just pull a card for you guys. Just ask one question right now. I'm going to sort of do an angel answers for you guys for this Virgo season. Whatever question you're asking, I'm asking for an answer. Okay, so whatever it is that you want to know during this Virgo season, put your question out there. I'm going to give you a second to really tune into your heart space, really connect your mind to what your heart wants to ask and request as far as, you know, your question to the universe, and I'll then be able to answer the question, and we can go ahead and see what your angel oracle guidance is for you guys. Okay, take your time, ask your question. I'm here for you. Right, so what is the answer to the question that is being put out there for this Virgo season? So overall, what I'm seeing so far on the cards is that this is all about communicating clearly. This is definitely all about communicating clearly. So whatever the question is that you're asking, communication is very, very important. You have to be willing to look for the incoming signs. They're going to be coming over the course of the next few months. So whenever I see that card, it's telling me what you're working on, or your question during this Virgo season is something that you're going to be taking a journey for the next 3 to 4 months to really be able to come to the answer. But the answer is going to be, I guess, playing out over the course of the next 3 to 4 months. But you will come to find the answer that we're going to be given in the next 3 to 4 months, potentially 5 months for some of you guys, maybe 6. Right, so, and again, that's probably going to be at the Virgo full moon season. Okay, what is the answer for their question, guys? What is the answer for their question? Whoever's asking a question for this Virgo season, what is their answer to that question? As clearly as you can, my loves. As clearly as you can. I'm getting such a good feeling for you guys. It's lovely. So the answer for you guys is to take action in the near future. Okay, at the bottom of the deck we've got take action, and we've got in the near future. So in the near future, there's definitely your intuition's definitely going to be speaking to you about opportunities. There's one particular opportunity that you may have been asking a question about, and your guides are saying just take action. Don't stop, because it's going to improve what you're doing, and there is something better for you, which will kind of be successful for you, but it's going to come in a very unlikely way. So you have to remain positive, because it's going to be a perfect timing situation. It may not necessarily be on the timeline that you're hoping for, but the universe is saying that you're ready, and it is all the way up to you. It's not necessarily the right time for you to get the actual response that you want, which is why the universe isn't giving you exactly what it is that you want, because there's still more for you to learn in terms of the way that you're communicating out into the universe about parts of yourself that may basically be misaligned. But ask your angels for help, guidance, and assistance, and you'll be able to get more answers through meditation. And all you need to know is that there's no need for you to worry. There is a peaceful resolution, provided that you're willing to be assertive. Say no when you need to say no. Forgive yourself for the guilt that you may feel for saying no, and let go within the next few months. You'll be able to see that the things that you're having to learn over the course of the next few months were things that you needed to reconsider. And once you reconsider those, it will definitely put you in a better position of your recovery period a year from now. Okay, my loves? That's pretty much everything from myself now. On that note, I'm gonna love you guys and leave it there for you guys. Definitely be sure to comment down below. Let me know if my oracle guidance has basically given you any sort of insight or answers or sense of direction. Be sure to comment down below and let me know in what way. If you like my vibe, guys, definitely be sure to join the tribe, give the video a thumbs up, and hit the notification bell. That way you can be kept in the know when I do upload these awesome videos for you guys. Okay, my love? On that note, I'm gonna love you guys and leave it there for you guys. I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, namaste, take care, God bless. Mwah. See you guys in the next video. Ta-ra.
They said to hold her back, they never seem to leave her head and tend to keep her mind at war. All the things they said to